I'm launching it, Rich.
Okay. Oh.
Hello, good evening, everyone. We are here today. It's our final week before Christmas. So after today, we're going to take 2 weeks off from our live classes and our Monday check-ins, but we will be back with you in the first week of January. Today, we are covering the TT Study Planner, which has been gone through
Christmas present for you.
Been through a few iterations at this point, so it is now ready for release. We're going to be featuring Megan, one of our brand ambassadors, who has been using it since the very beginning and has actually helped to shape it and sort of give us feedback along the way. But first of all, I'm going to ask you some questions. Hi, Scarlett. Hi, Amina. Okay, so first of all, I want you to write me or not me in the chat. I'm going to add a question, Ronnie. I'm going off the map already and we haven't even started yet. Who has used or created a study planner in the past? Me or not me? Yes or no would also suffice, but let's go me or not me. Aussie straight in there. MS not. Okay, I mean, I'd love to know reasons why. If you haven't used one, I've definitely had a go. They haven't all been very successful. But
wait, what was this question, Rich? I missed it.
Have you ever used a study plan?
Oh, okay.
Who has just used one? Like, just to get Alfie also a no, but most people. Interesting.
Maybe half? Maybe half?
That's actually not the answers that I was expecting. I was also a bit of a lazy student, but I always had the intentions to have a Hermione Granger style study plan, but never really got around to executing it. Okay, so second question. Of those of you that have used a study plan, who has created a study plan and then not stuck to it? That you set yourself the intention, you timetable out your time. So again, me or not me? Have you created a study plan that you have basically not been able to follow? So I want to know that in the chat, and this seems to be coming through quite me, never completely from Jasmina. Yeah, Tegan, yeah, 100%. Like pretty much every study plan I have ever made for myself, I have not stuck to. 1000%. Okay, so we can see that was much more the answer that I was expecting, to be honest. And third and final question to kick us off with, this is almost the opposite, but who has created a study plan that you've managed to be able to stick to, that balances all the right things, revising old content, keeping on top of new content, balancing past paper questions, as well as filling in gaps in your knowledge so that you feel confident? Who's created a study plan that you've been really satisfied with? Again, obviously only applies if you've ever used one or created one for yourself. Maybe you've used one, but you didn't create it for yourself. Like Aussie, nobody. Well, we are hoping to change that today with this breakthrough revolution in study plan technology.
Yeah, it is. And basically what you've all said there is that you're human and that life exists, because most study plans that are put together, they fall for the same problems, which is basically that it assumes that we will have a completely different personality starting from the moment we finish the study planner. So it's what you do normally with the study plan is you take the jobs and you take the days and then you merge the jobs and the days in a kind of like fairly arbitrary way, and you end up with jobs per day, and then you look at the ones for today and then you think, but I'm not in the mood for that, or you start doing it but it takes much longer than you think, or you get a phone call to say, can you look after your little sister so your mom can do something, or you're ill, or a million other things. So there's life and there's also being a human, and those two things just basically make that sort of study timetable completely pointless. It doesn't help at all. In fact, it makes things worse, because as soon as we get behind on it, we think we go into panic stations. Like, that study plan was meant to control everything. I was meant to stick to that. I haven't stuck to it. Therefore, everything is out of control and I feel stressed and not having.
I think that's a really vital point. The purpose of the study plan is to give us some control. It gives you a roadmap. Oh, everything's under control. If I follow my plan, everything's going to be okay. And then I don't have to stress out about these exams. And then you create one and then you fall behind and you're no longer following your plan. And then that's double stress, because now you've done the work to plan it and it isn't working.
Yeah. So this planner is designed to basically solve all your problems, and hopefully we're going to be talking to Megan in a bit, who's been trialing using it and helping us to develop it. So I shall reveal it now. You might want to ungallery me.
I will ungallery us.
Although I think if you screen share, it will auto, when you screen share, it's full width anyway. Shall we show students just quickly, before you do that, Ronnie, shall I just show students where they can get it from?
Oh, yeah, sure. Stop sharing.
Yeah, there is a link in the description. And if you're a TT member, then let me just jump inside here. Well, let me preview the right window first and then share my screen. So in the common room, TT common room, which is a common course for every single TT student, I've now added it to the links here. So the TT study planner is available there on the right hand side. We've even given you some bonus action hour cards in there. So all your Christmases come true at once. There you go.
And if you make a free trial, you get a week to play around. So you can, easily, you've got plenty of time to find this and download it and hopefully get used to using it while you're on your free trial. Okay. So
I think we should just say that we're not just keeping this for TT members. We know as a PDF it ends up out there and people share it and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So, we will at the end of this let you know where you can find it if you're not a TT member.
Yeah, and share it with other people if you feel it works for you. Obviously, share the love. Okay, so here is what it looks like. This is Thursday for me. We have to pretend it's Thursday and I started on Monday. So let's have a look at the top row first. Fairly standard here, a to-do list. Now I'm actually demonstrating here a fairly advanced use of the planner, which is color-based. So I have used different colors for different subjects, but you don't have to do that. I was just showing off really with my colors. So this is your standard to-do list. Personally, I am a fan of like rubbing them out when they're done, like totally getting rid of them, but you could use little ticks or whatever you like for that. So that's fairly standard. Over here, top right, we've got a tracking of your TT revision method. Again, you can find out all about that in the courses. It's got different steps to it, and what it does is to make sure that you are always focusing on the most problematic topics, the ones that would cost you the most marks. So not necessarily the ones you're finding most difficult, but the ones that would cost you the most marks, which means that you're making as fast progress as possible. So each of those steps you can follow, and you can find out about those inside the course. So that's the top right, always having one paper on the go per subject. And then looking at the bottom now, and then we'll come to the really important bit, which is the middle. We've got these habits that we should try to track. So at the end of each day or halfway through each day, just think through the main things that contribute to effective study. So everybody knows, this is well proven in research, that taking timed breaks in which you stand up and move and change your field of vision, so looking far away, looking over the horizon, looking down the end of the road, that kind of thing. If you take a timed break where you physically move and you change your eye depth, then that significantly contributes to the amount that you learn when you're studying. Stress significantly decreases the amount you learn when you're studying. So being aware of the extent to which you're worrying and trying to take steps to calm your nervous system down. So for example, taking longer exhales than inhales. So just counting 4 in and trying to count 6 or 8 as you breathe out. Something that simple can lower your stress. And if your stress is lowered, you get more from the time you're putting into your study. Sticking to the focus is really important. And my one is drink water, because I'm rubbish at drinking water, but you can add whichever one you like there. So as you can see from my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I am not doing brilliantly on taking timed breaks. So what I might do is add that to my focus for today. So I've got a section here, which is for Thursday. Now this section, you either write it in pencil, because at the end of the day, it's going to be totally rubbed out, or you can use, like I have here, a Post-it note. So you
can't
can
see your camera. But a Post-it note, that's Post-it note size. So you can just slap a new
Post-it
note.
Oh, you can't see, sorry. It's Post-it note size. So I've got on mine a Post-it note, and then I use that for my scribbles. And at the end of the day, I take that off. So I might add to this for my Thursday that I should take timed breaks, because I can see from my bottom left that that's something that I'm not too good at the moment. So that's today. You could use your today bit like I have there for a list of times, or you could say, right, these are the 3 things I really want to do today. You could use it for that section. The bottom right, super duper important. Rich Warburton, do you like what I've chosen as
I
my...
love what you've chosen there.
Rich and I were talking about Gremlins, and I was like, I haven't seen Gremlins for so long. So my end of week treat, this is a really important part of it. You might feel a bit silly at first writing it down, but again, this is research led. If you choose something that you would like, that would make you happy, that would produce dopamine in your brain, and you write that down, and then at the end of the week, you let yourself have it for trying, not if you finished everything, just for trying, then you are more likely to stick to the things that you've planned to do. It's a simple little trick. There's a nice thing. It means you get a nice thing each week. Okay. Second to last thing, we have got the remaining few weeks here in which you should be finishing the content. So I've highlighted 14th to the 20th of December because that's this week. So I know what this week was when I look back at these. And you might also use this section, like if you've got a test coming up, maybe you've got a test there that you can like jot down things, or maybe you're going to take Christmas off, so you're going to do this, that kind of thing. So it's an overview of the next few weeks in which we seriously recommend that you finish the content, that you use the end of March as that deadline for finishing the content. So it's got always fresh in your mind how close we are and how much time you've got left. Okay, so far you're probably thinking this is an amazing planner. I love it already. I want to use it, but I haven't shown you the most important thing. And this is where that idea of actually it being realistic comes in, and that idea of you being human and life actually happening comes in. So this is what we do on a day-to-day basis, is this middle section. It is Thursday morning. Now, as you can see, I started on a Monday. So I didn't write these in because I don't like writing them in, but technically by Thursday, I should be here. And I'm not, I'm behind, but that's okay, because you can get behind and you can get ahead. Now, actually, the reality of my week was that I started on Monday and I was super duper keen, and I did this and this and this. I wrote them all on Monday. Then Tuesday, I did all this stuff. Wednesday, I didn't do anything. And today is Thursday. So we're not assigning tasks to days. This is what I'm going to fill in next, because it's my next empty task. And you fill this in right before you start. So what am I going to choose? I could choose one of these from my to-do list. I could choose the next step on my TT revision method for one of my 3 papers. Or I could choose a random one from my action hour cards, which Rich Warburton will show us later. So I could have my action hour cards, shuffle them up, whichever one comes to the top, that's the one I'm going to do. So I've now decided what I'm going to do. It's Thursday. I'm going to sit down. It's 11 o'clock. I look at the time. It's 11. I'm going to do a 45-minute session. That's my end time. It's now 11. And I'm going to work on watching a Moments video and make notes. Okay. Now this is going to sound really simple, but now I do the thing I just wrote and I stay focused on it. And when that timer goes, I take a break. Doesn't matter if I'm finished or not. It's not about finishing it. It's about choosing your own end time. It could be in 20 minutes. It could be a 10-minute one. It could be an hour-long one. We don't recommend doing more than about 45 minutes before taking a break. But if you're going to do a paper, for example, you would write down an hour and a half as your end time. And then you have a timer, and then you take a break. And then say at 11:45, say I take a break at 11:45, it's now 12, then I have lunch, then I'm going to do my next one. Bear in mind, it's still Thursday. My next available slot is here. So I'm going to stop at 3 o'clock and I'm going to continue on the Moments because I didn't finish it. And maybe during that, I finish it and then I can cross it off there. Okay, I'm going to hand over. Because I think I could talk about this all day, but I'm going to hand over to you to ask questions, what was in the chat while I've been talking, and any questions that you've got about it.
Cool. So there's nothing jumped out in the chat whilst you were describing that, Ronnie. I think everyone was pretty engaged in what you were saying and showing everybody around it. But does anybody have any specific questions about what Ronnie's just said? I mean, is there any part of that doesn't make sense to you? That's what we want to ask you here.
So one of the common questions we get is how many hours per week should I spend studying? Yeah. And if you look at this planner, what it allows for is 4 hours per subject per week, plus an hour a day on average working on revision. So that's AS past papers, or if you're in your first year, maybe going over some practice papers. redacted, not the topics you haven't learned yet. So it brings into the plan in plenty of time. It's even got 2 hours spare. And if you spend 4 focused hours per week per subject outside lessons, plus an hour a week on an hour a day average doing revision, you are going to be totally on top of everything. But it's about that focus. It's about not doing any study unless you've got a timer on and you've decided in advance how long you're going to spend doing it, and you remain focused on that task until that timer goes.
So Tegan's asking, sort of confused how the tasks overlap over different days. And it's not so much that they overlap, is it, Ronnie? It's more of a fact that you set yourself a task, but it doesn't matter that you don't do it because you didn't set it in a rigorous, calendar style timetable. It's like at 2 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, I'm going to do like these 3 questions from the chemistry paper. You just put it in there for the week, and it doesn't matter if you don't get around to it that day, because tomorrow you might do more. So it doesn't matter that you missed it. It's just a list.
It's your to-do list is contained, and then the action hour log is what I am going to do for the next 45 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour. Now, I might look at the time and think I've got half an hour. I'm going to work on my maths homework. So I'll write down 11:30 is my end time maths homework. I'm not going to finish it, but that doesn't mean that I didn't do my action hour. That's what I was going to focus on. I did focus on it. I can't cross it off the to-do list yet because it's still on the to-do list because I haven't finished it. But your action hour log is not written in advance. It's all written retrospectively. It's written right now at the beginning of your study session. And this is the big part of this planner that's going to make a difference to your study habits. So never do a study session unless you've got your planner there. You look at the time, you make a time decision for your end time, you write in your end time, and then you write what you're going to focus on. And then that's it. The time has started. You don't set this in advance. You don't say, I'm going to start at 3. As soon as you write down that end time, that clock has started ticking and you're going to focus on that.
I'm going to chip in there. There's a question from Beta saying, what makes it different for other study planners? And there's a couple of things. One, you're breaking the link between the task list of the things you want to do and the time that you're going to do them. So you've got your list of tasks, which is going to exist throughout the week. When you're ready to sit down and study, you then choose one thing from that task to at least begin. You don't have to finish it in that session. So you choose the one thing, you then do that one thing. It gives you such clarity of what you're going to be focusing on that it's much easier to keep out all these other distractions and physically writing down, okay, it's now 11 a.m. at 11:45, I'm going to stop. And between now and 11:45, I'm going to do this one thing from my task list. You don't have to think about what do I do now? When you sit down, it's like, oh, I want to do some revision. Like, well, what does that mean? Whereas you've already got your list, you've pre-populated your list of things to do. And then when you come to sit down, you can choose the one that's most relevant to the length of time that you have or the concentration levels that you have at that moment in time. Then you can delve into that one thing and one thing alone. And we know that when you're paying full focus to a specific thing, that is going to be the most memorable. It's going to give you the most productivity. So it's breaking the association between the task and the time so that when you have the time, you sit down and pick a task and then you can give it 100% focus.
Yeah.
And it makes you, like, I've been using mine. This is mine with my Post-it on for today. And I've been using mine. And I find that a big thing that it's made me realize is that I don't write down things that I'm not going to do. So I might look at my to-do list and think, right, the most important thing is I need to do this filming. And I think, right, that's what I'll do then. I'll do that this morning. I'll do the filming. And then I go to write it down. And because I know that as soon as I write down the word filming and a time, I've got to actually start filming, then I realize I don't want to do that actually. And I'm not going to do it. So it forces you to really write down something realistic. If you're not going to do that, that's fine. Either take some time off from study or pick something else. But the whole point is that every single hour you put in is really focused and productive, and you're going to make way more progress with way less time.
So I think the 3 major benefits of this, guys, just to kind of.
Yeah, I haven't been reading the comments at all. Sorry, so give me a shout if there's anything.
No, yeah, I mean, they were just asking about the benefits, and Richard, Ronnie, and I were talking about this before we came on. And I think 3 major things. And the first thing, it's designed to kind of help support you and improve your study habits. in a realistic way. You know, you set yourself like, oh, next week, right, this is my study planner. I'm going to do all these things at these times on these days. And it just never happens. By writing it immediately and then doing it, and then you can look back on these and you can say last week, well, actually, I did loads of work last week and I smashed it. But actually, I've not been very kind to myself. I didn't reward myself. I didn't take many breaks. You know, I didn't kind of, you know, maybe your focus was a little bit off, even though you got a lot done. So it's all these really important things, and it supports like a healthy study habit as well. So that's what makes it really, really different. The other thing is what Rich and Ronnie were just saying is just the flexibility of it all. You know, signing yourself into like a, you know, almost like a work contract for the next week might work for some people, but looking at your answers at the beginning of this live, then it's not many of you guys. It's a small percent of the population that respond to that kind of thing. And I think the last one is that you don't have to just use it for revising. I know a lot of you doing the mocks over, you know, after Christmas, or even you're doing them next week, who knows? But essentially this helps you support your learning as well. So as you go through the year, then it helps you consolidate those topics as you go through. And you can say to yourself, right, I'm going to spend an hour going over what I did on pH this week in my chemistry class, and just, you know, consolidating your notes and making sure that you kind of follow it up with some TT videos or something like that. So it doesn't have to be just revision that you use this for. If you start using it now to consolidate your learning as you go through the year, you'll be in a much, much better position. You'll be right in the habit of revising as well and using this when it comes to crunch time at the end of March, beginning of April, when you
just to be clear, one thing that I think I didn't explain is that what you're aiming to do, whatever day you start, doesn't matter what day of the week you start, but what you're aiming to do is at the end of the 7 days, you've filled up all of those action hour logs at the end of 7 days. So you can get, it's an average of 3 a day, but you can get ahead, you can get behind. The point is that by the end of those 7 days, you filled in those action hours. So that's your aim whenever you're working. You know, if you want to know if you're ahead or behind, that's how you can tell if you're ahead or behind.
Shall we bring in Megan?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So where's Megan?
I'm
just going to reply to, oh yeah, actually I'll type the reply.
A few students have been asking about like balancing your time between studying and revising and knowing what to do when. Obviously, year 12 students and year 13 students are going to be going in different directions kind of soon. There is a document that we've put together to help you with that. Hi, Megan. And I'll share it at the end, but it's separate from the study planner, so I'm not going to confuse our thinkings about it right now. So just stay tuned to the end if you're worried about balancing your time, where to spend, doing what, when. There was more coming on that, but it's not on the study planner.
Hey, Megan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Hi, everyone. So I'm a brand ambassador for TT, and I've been using the study planner for 3 weeks, I think now. And I would really recommend it to anyone that just wants to have a long-term revision plan. I brought some with me that I was going to show. And
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you're doing yourself down, because I think actually, you know, Ronnie's been working with a number of students over the last few weeks, really kind of fine-tuning this, you know, and when I spoke to Ronnie earlier, and she was like, I said, right, who's been really useful in this? Who's been like sold on this from day one? And your name was the first out of Ronnie's mouth. So you know, you could probably put your signature on the bottom of this somewhere as well.
Yeah, I think we should put, yeah, at Megan who doesn't do maths, as I call Megan.
yeah,
so you got a couple of examples there, maybe you say?
Yeah, well, can we start a bit more zoomed out? What have you found it generally helped you with? And like, what kind of student are you for those students who don't know you? Are you like super mega organized, or do you sometimes give us a bit of an overview of you as a student and what the planner has helped you with?
Yeah, so I'm generally really organized, like a bit too organized. So all the schedules that I've made in the past have been down to the minute. So it'd be stuff like, I will be back from the dog walk at exactly 8:32. I will do this at 10 minutes past, and it's just not worked at all. So I think the study planner has just helped me to just organize my time and make sure I'm not doing things exactly down to the minute. And it's just more of a long-term plan, because just organizing your time down to the minute, it just doesn't work, because you're just
setting yourself up for failure, in my book anyway. And
doesn't take account of life or human.
Yeah, exactly. So I've bought the first one that I did was this one. I don't know if you'll be able to see that.
Yeah.
Do you want to go
Yeah,
off
yeah.
gallery view so we can go Megan full
Yeah,
screen?
we
You
can
can
see
keep
that.
talking, so then it will prioritize your camera. The rest of us can shut up.
It's quite full, so you've got all the days going along here. It's not full, but it's fine. So that's the first one. That was not very interesting because that was like the first like decoy that Ronnie made. But this was the one that I did last week, and that one really worked for me. So I've got what my reward here was to watch a film and have the night off. And yeah, I've just been plotting like all the stuff that I've been doing, my habits, and it's been really working for me. And I think I've done the most amount of work that I've done in ages, really.
So good.
That's great.
Awesome.
Does it help you to have like more guilt-free time off?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Because it actually feels like I'm doing something and I'm not just like lazing around.
Yeah, it's all part of the plan.
Yeah, because that's it. Sometimes you can have a really good session, and at the end of it, maybe wake up the next day and think, well, I don't really know what I did yesterday. In fact, Rich and I were just talking before. It's like, oh, how was your weekend? And Rich's like, I feel like I had a good time on Saturday, but I can't remember what I did.
No
It
idea.
happens to all of us, So, but having that there, it's just that little reminder. It's like, yeah, I smashed it this week, and I should feel good about myself. And it's just eases the pressure. I think it's easy to put so much pressure on yourself, but to have that there as a reminder of what you've achieved.
The research that I've read about it is that it makes a difference even during the week, but knowing that this thing is waiting for you, but actually what makes the real difference with these setting yourself a treat and then having the treat is if you actually give yourself the treat, because then the following week a bit of your brain produces dopamine when you look at your study plan. So instead of looking at your study plan and feeling stressed and overwhelmed, a little bit of your brain subconsciously that you're not aware of sees that thing in the bottom right and goes, oh, good feelings. And then you're feeling more positive, and then you're feeling more in control, and it all contributes and helps you to change your study habits effectively.
I have a question for Megan. Like, which bits, if you could isolate any bits of it, do you think have been the most successful for you? Has that, tracking the habits, or noticing avoidance of things, or having the list of things that you want to do pre-prepared, or having a direct focus for the thing you're about to specifically work on, or something else?
Yeah, so the best part of it for me has been just tracking my time, because a lot of other students like me get burnt out really easily. And I think I'll do like a week of really solid work, maybe like 8 hours a day, no breaks. And then the next week I'll do absolutely nothing because I'm really burnt out. And I think this just prioritizes my time really well. Yeah.
So finding balance and consistency, maybe finding probably a healthier routine. If I'm gonna put words like, is that I'm making these things up. You're welcome to disagree with me. Say that.
Rich, could you show again where it is?
Yeah.
And also,
I need to show them the action hour cards as well before we finish.
Yeah, the action hour cards are great. Cut them up, shuffle them. You have to do whatever comes up at the top.
Okay, so let me share my screen here. Oh, that's the wrong one. So let's not share that screen over there. I was supposed to be Chrome, but it definitely wasn't Chrome. Let's try that again. Voila. Okay, so for those of you in the TT membership, then everyone has this course on their My Courses page called the TT Common Room, and this is the first lesson on the first page of that, and the study planner is here. And Rich, in fact, what we can do is we can share that in the YouTube chat, again in the chat thread, as well as in the description. If you're watching the recording, then it'll be in the description. You can download it from there. We may continue to tweak it and update it. So if you are a TT member, then just watching this in June, maybe come back and download a fresh one, because it might have updated a little bit since then.
Maybe we can cut the recording of this as well for how to use it and put that in there in case anyone wants to go back over.
Probably not seeing that anymore. So let me just switch to the actual pop-up of.
And also you can ask questions on the bottom of that page. So if you have got a specific question about the planner or the action hour cards, then just put it in the bottom and we'll see it and get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got the study planner with different things here, but and underneath, I don't know if I can make this big enough to really see. We've got an action hour card. So this is basically when you sit down, when you've chosen one of the things I will focus on, you can actually go into a bit more detail with one of these. It just gives you a chance to write down, like form a little mental contract or a little written contract with what you are going to focus on right now, not like in this moment, basically. If you want, you can create these in advance and then pick one from the pile.
It was one of the things that a student told me that they were using them for that I really liked, was to fill them out in advance. And then, because one of the things that he found really difficult was looking at all the options for what to do and making a choice. And so he came up with this idea of filling them out in advance, but then just shuffling them and taking the top one and then having to do that, which I thought was a really good idea.
Yeah, so you can either pre-populate these, but it gives you a very clear single focus what you're going to do, and then it gives you a few tick lists to do in advance. If you have are you working at a desk rather than your bed? Have you got a timer ready for 45 minutes? And then a little bit of retrospective afterwards. How effective was it? In the end, was the television on and Facebook was open and I didn't have a clear task in mind and maybe it wasn't very effective, and then you can put your little notes as to why. Or maybe you smashed it, you got through way more than you were expecting, and you finished a bit early, and now you can take your 15-minute break and then have a bit of a treat. So these they're really good ways of just keeping on top of everything, and they go hand in hand. It's very similar to this part of the action hour log here. It just gives you a bit more detail for what you are going to focus on and when. So if I close that down, those of you that...
Before we shared the screen, I think Jasmina had a question for Megan about...
I'll come out of that then.
Difference between, where is it? Megan, what do you think is the biggest difference between the TT study planner and the usual study planners?
I would probably say that the biggest difference is just to do with how you're approaching your learning. So you're doing revision in manageable blocks, instead of doing, say, 2 hours of straight revision. You're doing an action hour for this specific task. You're doing a specific task at this time, and you're setting yourself goals, and it just works in the long term.
There you go.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's more sustainable, is what we were saying before, isn't it? For sure.
Yeah.
Somebody just asking about what happens after 45 minutes if what are you doing is longer than 45 minutes. Well, I think if you're aiming to do a full past paper when you get to proper revision time at the end of the year, you want to get exam fit. So you need to do the whole paper, really. Timed exam conditions. We're massive fans of that part of the TT method. But I think, when you're just, you're studying for maybe your mock, or you're doing homeworks, or you're just consolidating, when that timer finishes, you stop, you down.
Yeah, absolutely. Madhu had just said the same thing in reply to Tegan, and you're completely right. The thing that I find the hardest, the thing that in reality is on my habits part of my planner that I don't do, is take a break, because I am like Megan, but I do that on like you were saying, that you do 8 hours a day for a week and then crash. I do that in morning to afternoon. So I get up, I've got coffee, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. It's been 45 minutes or an hour, but I'm still really quite buzzing from the coffee and I'm really enjoying it. So I don't take a break, and I keep going and I keep going and then I crash. And actually what I get out of the day is about 2 hours total of really productive work in total. Obviously I keep going in the afternoon, but I never get it back. I always wish I could recreate that coffee feeling. And actually you can recreate the coffee feeling by not keeping going when the timer goes. And it's really difficult, because you want to keep going and you feel like you're being really productive, and you feel like it would be stupid to stop now because you're in the middle of something really good. But actually if you make yourself stop when that timer goes, don't forget you set the timer as well. If you don't want to stop in 10 minutes, don't set the timer for in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
when it goes, stand up.
The homework is going to take you around about an hour, and 45 minutes isn't going to be quite enough. Then set the timer for an hour into an hour.
If you've only got 10 minutes, but you want to make yourself work for 10 minutes, do 10 minutes. The end time is part of that decision-making and that commitment to what you're about to do.
Something that my dad was enforced with me is he had a list of 5-10 minute jobs. So when he had that odd bit of time, he always could fill it with, he had a pre-written list, same thing, but we're doing the 5-minute job list, and we've got the 1 hour, 45-minute hour long job list as well. So you can kind of choose a task that fits whatever time. That's why it's useful, because you can choose a task that's going to fit the moment that you're in right then.
Yeah. And it's a 15-minute break we recommend, and that's just asking how long the breaks. That's why we call it an action hour. 45 minutes work, 50-minute break. And I think it's really important, and for me it's really important, me personally, is to get up away from the desk. I've got screens in front of me, I've got the recording equipment and stuff like that. It's like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the kitchen, make a brew, or take the dog for a quick lap around the park, park or something like that. So
sitting at the same desk and then just switching from your laptop screen to your phone screen is not the ideal break.
No, you think of your eyes. That's the research I've read is about simply changing your field of vision.
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference on your brain.
Megan, how are you with taking breaks? Are you pretty good do you use a timer? Do you use your phone? Do you how do you manage your breaks?
I'm absolutely awful at taking breaks. I end up setting a timer and then just running over, because I just just another 5 minutes on my phone. It won't do anything. And then it will turn into like 2 hours. And I've not done anything. But I'm trying to get better. It's something that I've wrote in my habit section to improve on the next week, but we're getting there.
I bought myself, and to be fair, I switched offices, so I haven't really maintained it that well, but I bought myself 2 kitchen timers. One was set default 45 minutes, one was then set to 50 minutes. So using a timer for this time session, we're all relatively happy to the timer says I need to stop working now. That's fine. But yeah, that 15 minutes zips by, and then having a timer for that 15 minutes can be really helpful as well. That's kind of where the action hour came from, because the Pomodoro, they would certainly beat us to it in terms of that respect, but 25 minutes work, 5 minutes break. Literally, I'd never do a 5-minute break. I go to the kitchen, put the kettle on, and then you can't even make a cup of tea really in 5 minutes. So that 5 minutes became 15, 20, 30-minute breaks. And then I'm doing half an hour work and half an hour study. And then suddenly my ratio of work to break is not really where it should be. So that's kind of the origin of the action hour, really. Just
speaking of timers and action hours, in case you haven't noticed, TT members, in the top right of every page, when you're inside TT, you'll see a little timer. So if you do want to use that timer, that's there on the page for you.
It's up here, so you can choose your preset times, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You can pause a timer if you want, so it will turn orange and count down for you. We have heard the only feedback we've had on the beep not being quite loud enough. So that's something that we're going to work on, but you can pause it if you need to dash away to something. But generally speaking, once you've got your focus, it's usually quite easy. How this is a weird question, Megan, once you've got a clear focus on a task, does 45 minutes seem like a long time or a short time?
It depends on what I'm doing, but generally, if I am focused, it does go quite quickly. And then I'm like, oh, it's only been 45 minutes. It's already my break. So I think the fact that it feels shorter just makes me want to do more work. So I think it is quite a good time.
For me, when I've got clear focus, and that's kind of important, if I've got clear focus, 45 minutes is gone. It's gone in a flash. But when I'm scrabbling around, it's I don't really want to be doing that. And I get, I'll just check my email over there. And as soon as you then end up in that lack of focus, that disarray, that's when time for me starts dragging anyway. And I'm the same, Ronnie. My mornings are usually pretty good, pretty driven. I get my most important task of the day done, and then I'll have lunch, and then I'll come back, and it's I could do a bit of that, I could do a bit of this, and then, it's 5 o'clock, and it's what have I done this afternoon? I've done nothing much.
And I think that's one of the things that students often find difficult to get their head around, is that they're doing loads and loads of work, it feels like. They're putting loads and loads of hours in, and yet they're behind and they're not doing as well as they want. They may be a grade or even 2 below where they want to be. And the only conclusion that students tend to come to is that I'm working really hard and I'm behind. I'm rubbish. I don't know what to do. I'm doing this all wrong. And actually, you're not rubbish and you're not doing it all wrong. It's just that the time that you're putting in simply isn't focused. So you're spending a lot of time doing very little amount of learning, and that's why you're not making as much progress as you could. So it's about kind of laser focusing that time that you put in, and then that will mean that actually you don't need to put in as many hours as you'd think. If you have a look at that planner, that is not that many hours. Most students, most of the feedback that I've had is, can you make me one with more hours on it? And actually you shouldn't really need more hours than that. we are going to make people ones with more hours on, but yeah, it's not that much when you actually reduce it down and focus.
Quality over quantity for sure.
Yeah.
That's how this helps, really, isn't it?
So who is going to, we asked at the beginning of this, who's made a study planner and not stuck to it? And that was most people, practically everybody. Who would like to give this one a go over the next couple of weeks till we see you again after Christmas? Who would like to try it and then feed back to us after Christmas? You could, that's 7 days. It doesn't need to be 7 days in a row, you see. You could print it off now and just say at some point over the holidays, I will do 7 days worth of what I will do these action hours.
Yeah, and if, I mean, obviously
how you've got on afterwards.
And if you come back to the recording of this, maybe the Christmas gift for TT, maybe we should change the title to TT Study Planner. Is maybe we can change the retrospectively change the title of the live. You can leave in the comments. I invite anyone who's using this, had a crack at it, got any questions about how to use it after watching the recording, come to us in the comments on YouTube, and then we can either point you in the right direction and we can share some of the feedback. I found this bit worked really well. I found that bit didn't work quite so well. So by all means, use the thread in the comments below as a bit of a discussion board about how we can even make it better. As I said, we might review it and make it even better once we've got more feedback from you.
Great.
We've had quite a lot of questions.
I am going to shoot soon, Rich, because I'm teaching at 7.
Yep.
Okay. In which case, another question which came up quite a lot, and I promised that I would say, Tegan definitely asked about sort of the balance between how much work to do when. And Megan, if you're happy, I'd love to get your sort of feedback on this. You might be seeing this for the first time, but I'll talk everyone through it. It's another document that's basically on that same page in the common room. Let me try to see if I can get my screen sharing right for once, because I've managed to cock it up 2 out of 2 so far. Here we go. Okay, so from this page here, this is a document here. This is a first draft, very much a first draft, but how to get your target grades. And I've realized that I'm once again sharing the wrong things. That's 3 out of 3. Let's just go to the desktop this time so you can see the thing that actually pops up. And again, I'll try and make this a bit bigger. Is that visible out there? I'm not really going to focus on the text at the top. I'm going to come to the year plan. Can you vaguely see what's going on there?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll go in one more. Okay, so year 12 and year 13, we've got this light yellow, and that's learning new content. So we can that is your bread and butter throughout most of the year. Most of your time is spent learning new content. But for year 12s, what we want to try and do is introduce the concept of this darker yellow here. This is revising past content. So this is building the habit that you're not this week, if you're studying carbohydrates or indices or atomic structure, you don't only do that thing. You build in a little bit of your time. Let's say you do 4 action hours a week. 1 action hour a week could be on revising the content that you did last week or revising past content. So you're building this habit of introducing a little bit of topic-based revision, which is basically this darker yellow throughout the year. And as you can see, sort of after Christmas, you can start, you've done more content, so you can start building a little bit more revision. And then you should finish the first run through of the AS content around about March, which gives you April and May to do TT revision method. So this is full past paper practice using the AS papers, looking back, and this is going to be using the TT revision method, which is another live entirely. So that gives you your structure for year 12. So those of you asking what to do, you should be mostly focused on covering the new content that you're doing at school or college, but you should also build the habit of introducing a little bit of topic question packs. You can see some of the different things like the different learning quizzes. You can test yourself on flashcards, just a little bit of reminding yourself of content that you did back in September, because otherwise you might have forgotten it. For year 13, it's very much the same method, except you at this point in September of year 13, you've already completed the AS. So you can use the AS papers to do TT revision method. And just to remind those students who don't know anything about this, the TT revision method includes past paper practice, but it also includes content revision. You get a couple of action hours to spend on whatever's going to help you out the most. So this doesn't just mean past paper, past paper, past paper. It's past paper followed by targeted revision, past paper followed by targeted revision. So some of this time will be, if you forgot what you did in haloalkanes in the first year, if that is a first year topic, then you can go back and you can revise that then. So that's just a rough map of what to do. And for our TT students, we recommend that you cover your first run through of the content by the end of March. So you have at least 12 weeks this year. You'll have a little bit more for A-level students to do full synoptic revision, trying to make all the links between things, testing yourself in the past papers, the different styles of questions, the different sort of command words and the different challenges that all the past papers throw at you that isn't just content revision.
I'm just going to link this back to the planner, Rich. Is that okay? I'm just going to share my screen and unshare your screen. That this is taken into account in the planner by the, or just, it doesn't matter, I'll draw on this column here. So each of the... Can
you zoom in a bit on that, Ronnie?
Yes. So no. So when you're doing your action hours, then what we've got here is a suggestion that on average 1 hour a day, so not necessarily 1 hour a day, but on average 1 hour a day is spent on the TT method. So it means that you've got that control, so that if you're filling in, you're doing homework, you're doing more homework, you're doing more homework. So I might fill in this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, doing loads of homework. And then when it gets to Sunday, I realize that I haven't done on average 1 hour a day on my revision. So then I would go back and do these, and that would be using what's in the top right and then moving on with whichever papers I'm in the mood to move on with. Maybe I'll do this and this and leave biology to next week.
Yeah, so it's building in that habit of balancing some recap. It doesn't have to be full past paper, but revision.
So what I would recommend for those of you with mocks is that the paper that you use for the TT method, it could either be an AS paper, a P1, paper 1 or a paper 2 if you're going to be tested on the AS, or it could be a redacted A-level paper. So you might, for example, take biology paper 3, and if you have a look at the MID sheet, which is one of your sections, is the MID that you're going to do. If you have a look at the MID sheet for that paper, then you can see what topics it assesses and cross off the questions that you're not going to be tested on in January. So then you've got a paper with some questions crossed off, and then you can work your way along this process using that redacted paper. And that will be a really good way to use these action hours to prepare for your mocks in January.
Great.
That made sense.
Megan, I was going to just quiz you on the document that I just shared, the sort of the overall schematic of the year. Did it make sense? Did you have any questions? Also, if you're on YouTube, if you've got some questions, ask away.
No, I think it does make sense. I think a lot of students, they don't really know what to do with their time. So especially like me, I'm like, what month do I start doing past papers? How much of it should I be doing per week? And I think that does give a good overview of the year, how much you should be doing. So yeah, I'll be excited to try it, I think.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I think we're constantly working at trying to support students much more. We started with just like, here's all the information, go and do what you want. And now students are asking us constantly for more guidance and support in the best ways of using our resources. And that's sort of the latest development basically in what we're doing. So some of these are the document I just showed was very much a first draft, but it gives you the overall idea that most of your time spent learning content up until the end of March with some retrospective, so past paper practice or topic-based revision, and then moving from March onwards, the whole switch in your focus should be looking at the past papers and then making sure you've ironed out any of your kinks and creases in there, because quite often the papers are a whole nother world of things to learn, not just the content.
Or you can get the free gift by getting a TT membership free trial and then look in the common room.
Yeah, the first lesson in the common room. Are there any questions that anyone's noticed from the chat that we haven't sort of taken care of?
No,
and Tegan, who else asked me, did that? Go on, Rich.
No, just like I said, I've just been answering the ones that are coming in. Nothing really specific that we haven't already answered. A few latecomers, but essentially, if you're a latecomer, then I think you need to go back to the start and take a look at where we introduced the whole study planner and how to use it and what the benefits are. And so
yeah, can I answer Amina's question, which is because I think this is really common question, is so should I be doing for my revision for the January mocks or whatever they are, should I be doing this TT method with the papers alongside the topic revision? I know probably this is going to be quite a bold thing for me to suggest to you. And if you're new to TT, you might feel worried about doing this, but you don't need to do the topic revision. The TT method incorporates everything that you need for revision. It honestly does. I wouldn't say this to you if there was any chance that you could make more progress a different way. So you don't do homework, yeah, that you've been set, or set yourself other tasks. But if you stick to the TT method with a paper, then you don't need to do any other revision outside that.
Excellent. Oh, sorry, I was just trying to read the question there. How to manage your time when doing AS and A level together? Well, I mean, if you're in year 13, then you can find out what's going to be on your mock. We've done some lives on this in the past, so ask your teacher which bits of the spec. Is it only AS? Is it AS and the A level content we've done today? Find out what's going to be on the exam, and then you can make an informed decision about, are you just going to do AS papers using the TT revision method? Are you going to look at some A-level papers and just scan through the paper and say, well, we've not done control of gene expression yet, so you can just cross out that question and maybe just only do half of the questions on the paper that are on the topics that you have done. So at some point, you're going to have to make a bit of a balanced decision with these marks as to what you're going to be assessed on and the best way to prepare. But the best preparation for exams are the exams themselves. So where possible, use a real past paper. And if that means you have to cross out a few questions because it's on content that you've not done at school or college yet, then that's okay. You can just say, if that question was out of 15, then now instead of the paper being out of 100, it's out of 85. You just take 15 marks off the paper total and just skip that question entirely. Okay, so
I'm going to shoot because I need to set up my class.
In the exam guide, MS.
Well, I think we should finish up anyway. We've been here. We usually do about half an hour on a Monday, don't we? But I think this is deserves to have some extra time. But cool. Well, thank you for coming along, guys. Megan, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks, Megan.
That's okay.
And yeah, we're off for a couple of weeks now. We are doing our live classes this week. That's where Ronnie's going, and they'll be our last live classes for a couple of weeks. And we'll be back on our Monday check-in and the live classes in the new year.
Exactly. And yeah, MS just asked, where do I find the TT revision method? If you're one of our members or doing the free trial, ask us in the course. If you can't find anything, just send us a comment in the course and we can point you in the right direction and we can answer all your questions. You've got direct access to all of us as your tutors there. Great. Thanks again to Megan. Thanks again for everyone for joining. If you wouldn't mind giving a little thumbs up and a like there, just helps the algorithm boost us up the rankings a little bit. And yeah, we'll see you in January. Have a great Christmas. Have a great New Year's. Don't try to give too many people COVID and we'll be great.
See you guys.
Bye.